This is VSiN, the sports betting network.
Follow the money. That's what I always say. You always follow the money.
Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Pauly Howard on VSiN.
It's good to have you on board. This is Follow the Money on VSiN, the sports betting network. Thanks for watching on YouTube TV, listening on Sirius XM channel 158, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, or any of our great affiliates across the country. We begin this hour by talking more NFL draft. We go to the progressive guest line. Jon Ledyard joins the program now. You can follow him on X at Ledyard NFL Draft. Also, the Read Optional Pod with Ollie Connolly as well. Jon, thanks for the time today. How are you? I'm not hearing him. Are you, Pauly? Okay.
We were just talking to him.
We'll reconnect here in a second, I think, and get him on. He covers the event, covers the Steelers, covers the Buccaneers, and the entire NFL in general. We'll talk about those two teams specifically. And got to get his thoughts overall, too, by the way, on a trade that happened inside Pittsburgh's own division. And my gut reaction when it actually took place was I hated it for the Bengals. I thought they gave up way too much for a guy that's 29 years old. Damn good player, but we'll get his thoughts on that as well when we connect with him tonight. And
he had a great tweet, by the way, whenever it was when Rodgers told the Steelers, I'll have my mind made up by the draft. Rest assured, no problem. Do you know who you're dealing with here? That came and went.
This isn't the first time Rodgers has done this?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. How long do you think it's been?
I'll let you know, guys. I'll give you plenty of time what I'm going to do in the future.
How many years ago was it when Schefter came out on draft day talking about Rodgers' future?
Oh, yeah.
Wasn't that like 5 years ago now already?
Yeah.
I mean, how is it possible that this happened with
that I want more input or I'm leaving type of thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it happened with back-to-back Green Bay quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
Happened with Favre every single year.
Yeah, right, true.
Okay, so I think we have Jon now. Jon, before we get into some of these teams specifically and what you think they're going to do tonight, a team inside Pittsburgh's own division made a pretty big trade recently, and that was Cincinnati, obviously giving up the 10th pick overall for defensive lineman Dexter Lawrence. What did you make of that trade when the news broke?
Yeah, it's one of those ones where you understand why they do it, because they're in a window where if they don't win pretty soon, their quarterback is going to ask to get out of town. So they can't obviously be in that position. So I think for them, it makes complete sense when you think about the context of where their team is at. But because they've drafted poorly and they've done a poor job in free agency, and some would say even a poor job within their own organization of retaining talent over the years, it has led to this kind of catastrophic depletion of their own roster, to the point where you kind of have to do things like this because you haven't hit on a lot of the margin moves over the years that you've really needed to hit on. So they're a defense devoid of talent at a lot of key spots, definitely on their front. They have not had many positive additions there in recent years, despite trying quite hard in the draft. They've drafted a lot of players and a lot of them haven't hit. And so because of that, they feel like they have to go out and make moves like this. I think the real context of the situation is Dexter Lawrence is like a 340, 350 pound man who probably isn't going to age the same way Chris Jones and Cam Hayward and Calais Campbell have aged. Like, those guys have aged awesome, but they're much lighter, more athletic type of players. And Dexter Lawrence 2 years ago injured, and when he was healthy, he was really good, but he played about half of the normal snaps that he played. And then last year wasn't the same player. And some of that probably effort and situation and all kinds of things like that. But are we just positive that the Bengals culture is so good that none of the conditioning stuff that crept up with Lawrence before, or the little nicks and knacks that happen as you get older, are going to creep up again and contribute to his effort? I think it's a really risky move. I think to trade 10 overall is a big price for it. So if he's at his best and we get peak Dexter Lawrence from 2 years ago, then 2-3 years ago, then it's possible that it works out for them. I would bet against it.
Yeah. I would agree with that. Mm-hmm. Okay, so it's in Pittsburgh tonight, the draft is. Let's begin. The Steelers are picking 21st overall and betting on which position they're going to go with their first overall player. Wide receiver is even money. Offensive lineman is plus 150. Safety is 5-1. Then it goes down beyond that. Which position would you be looking at there?
I think they'll look pretty heavily at offensive line and wide receiver, and I would be surprised if it's not either of those two positions. I think there's a couple targets for them. I think they really hope that Venga Ioane gets into the teens, and I think that the Penn State guard. Mm-hmm. And I think that if he does, I'm not saying it's advisable to trade up in a draft for a guard, but he's a really good player. And in this draft, there are not a lot of really good players, and he is, I think, one of the best. So I think they would really consider moving up to him. Now, Tampa Bay could be a trade partner. Everybody knows that Tampa Bay wants to move back. So that could be a real landing spot if he gets past the Giants at 10, Baltimore at 14. That's where what the question is. They could also move up for a tackle. I think Monroe Freeling from Georgia is probably a player that's near the top of their list. Perhaps there's another one of these tackles that they like. But Freeling plays and is played on that left side, and it will allow them to keep Troy Fautano on the right side. So I think those two would be potential targets for them. And I think it's definitely possible that they move up for a receiver too, although if it were me, I would want to be hanging out at receiver. I don't think there's anybody there worth jumping up the board for. I would want to hang out where they are and probably get Omar Cooper from Indiana. But if they move up, I would bet that it's for Venga Ioane or one of the tackles.
In your mock, you have Arizona taking Love. You think that's going to happen? How confident are you think that happens? And would they be making a mistake?
That's a good question. On one hand, I can see it for Arizona. They don't have a lot of explosive playmaking talent. They really need it offensively. They just do. And I understand that in a draft devoid of it, it's tempting to go take the best most explosive offensive playmaker in the draft. Jeremiah Love is awesome. So it's not an indictment of him when I say that they're just pretty far away. And we haven't really seen running back be the position that closes the gap for a lot of these teams. So in this draft, it is a little bit difficult because there's not exactly a wealth of things. And the word is they want to trade down. So that would be the smart move. That would be the analytically driven move. That would be, looking at the division and saying, hey, we're not topping Seattle and the Rams in this next window anyway. Let's build for the future. That's not how a lot of NFL teams think, but it's probably how they should think given the division that they're in. San Francisco too, as they get healthy again this season. So it would be smart to take the long-term focus. To me, running back is the most short-term position because of how it ages, the injury risk as you get older. There's a lot of different contexts that involves. You need the rest of the group to really be ready to benefit most from that position, I think, and they're not quite there yet. So it wouldn't be the smartest move from a team-building perspective, I think. But on the flip side, I would understand that you want to add they need explosive. If you watch the Cardinals last season, they're about as slow as any offense that you could see, and they need explosive playmaking talent. So I would understand he would add something to them. He is better than Ashton Genty at what last year. I feel confidently about that. It just wouldn't be the right move from a value long-term perspective, I think.
Well said.
Yes.
Where are you at with the number 2 pick overall? Because it looks like Reese now is turning out to the favorite yet again. He was about $1.45 or so when the show started. And he has taken some money at some of the biggest sports books in the world. I think I'm seeing him up to almost $2 now at one of those offshore books. Who do you think goes number 2?
I think it's Reese. I would be lying if I told you I feel real confident in it, but I have gone back and forth on this one. I've talked to everybody that I know. It seems like there's a different opinion everywhere I look. I literally came down to this, guys. This is what I came down to. I just don't think Aaron Glenn would like a David Bailey as a player as much as, and I think he's making the decision. I don't think he'd like David Bailey as a player as much as he'd like Arvell Reese. So unless ownership steps in or somebody else pulls rank somewhere that I don't know about, as far as I know, this is Aaron Glenn's draft. He's making the pick. He's called the shots this offseason, got what he wants. So I just believe it's his pick, and I just think he will watch the tape and he'll say, Arvell Reese, this guy just bodies people. He is absolutely relentless. He says and does all the right things. David Bailey, really good player, super talented. Effort kind of can come and go a little bit. There's some questions more about David Bailey just in terms of how engaged is he within the organization? Is he the cultural leader? Or is he kind of a fall in line guy? Nothing wrong with that if he is that, but I think they just feel like they need a leader, and I think they think Arvell Reese might be that guy. You talk to the coaches at Ohio State, and they just go crazy about Arvell Reese and just his commitment to be great and how dialed in he is for the game. And I think that's just going to carry a ton of weight with Aaron Glenn. He's going to want the culture thing is going to matter to him a ton. And I just think Reese is more his type of dude. That's literally it. That's what I'm basing it off of.
Fair enough. I mean, it's like we're all throwing darts here, basically, at the number 2 overall pick, the way it seems, which is unlike basically any other draft in recent years. Follow the money here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Jon Ledyard, our guest, talking NFL draft. Also the Buccaneers, and you said maybe moving down. If that doesn't happen, even if it does, like the first drafted player, like the top 4 positions are relatively close to each other, although defensive line is a short shot at even money. Then you have O-line, tight end, and cornerback all under 4-1. What are you thinking there?
It's good if they trade down, which is what they want to do. Make no mistake about it. The Bucs absolutely want to get out of that 15 spot. It's just going to be a matter of who falls into the teens and whether teams want to come up for a player. If they can get out of 15, their ideal landing spot, 20 where the Cowboys are, 21 where the Steelers are, 23 where Philly is. Would any of those teams be looking to come up for a player? The Cowboys trying to get ahead of the Vikings for Dylan Thieneman maybe, or perhaps move up for a tackle. That's being slept on for the Cowboys. And the Cowboys always surprise in round 1, and now they've got 2 picks. So I think they are destined to surprise us and probably shake things up at some point in round one. But I think there's a real chance a move up there could happen for an offensive lineman, for Thieneman, who they like, if they don't take him with their early pick. I think the Steelers could be moving up, as I said, for offensive line. The Eagles could be moving up for offensive line or a wide receiver. If this A.J. Brown thing's real and he's out of there, then perhaps they feel like they need to jump some of these teams, the Jets, the Steelers, and some of these other teams that are looking for a wide receiver. So those could all be possibilities, but the Bucs want to get out of there. And if they move back, I think that Akeem Messidor will be the top pick on their board, top player on their board. I think there's a chance they like Malachi Lawrence. I don't know if they take him there. If they move back further and Messidor was gone, maybe they'd think about it. But if Messidor is gone, I think they would think about Jacob Rodriguez, linebacker from Texas Tech. I think that would be high for him, I know. But I think they really like him. Maybe they'd look to move back again. Lots of things are possibilities, but I think more than anything, they know that edge and linebacker are their top needs. So that's where we're going to start. That's where we're going to look. But they're not going to reach. If it's not there and they can't trade back, they will just take the best player on their board. That could be a corner. That could be a wideout. It could surprise some people. I don't think it's going to be Kenyon Sadiq, but I can't totally rule it out because I know Jason Light will go best player available. And there isn't one at a position of need, then he'll just take the best player on their board.
Awesome stuff. You can follow John on X. He's at Ledyard NFL Draft, Ledyard NFL Draft. Joined us here on the Progressive Guest Line. Thanks so much for the time. Enjoy the draft tonight, John.
Absolutely, guys. I appreciate you having me.
Yep, back at you. Really good. Okay.
Excellent.
Maybe because he brought up Malachi Lawrence. He's been mocked several times 20th to the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Could the Cowboys trade up to 15 with the Buccaneers and then Malachi Lawrence actually go 20th to the Buccaneers overall? Maybe that could work. Several people have said he's a first-round pick. So up next, tonight's playoff schedule. All three road teams are favored tonight. I'll tell you how those teams have done straight up in ATS over the past several years coming up here on VSiN.
So you're listening to this podcast because you want an edge. But what if I told you you're only halfway there? You've got the mindset. Now it's time to get the toolkit to match. Here's the thing. Pro bettors spend thousands on data and tools, but what they don't want you to know is you can get the same edge for a fraction of the cost with VSiN Pro. With VSiN Pro, you get access to expert picks, public betting data, prop projections, powerful tools, analytics, and more. Tap the link in the description and see why thousands of bettors are already using VSiN Pro to cash more bets.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
This is a good tweet. Just talking NFL draft. Josh Norris does a great job covering this event as well for Underdog. He said that, I'm surprised there hasn't been more steam with Daniel Jeremiah's projected Saints trade up to number 3.
Yeah.
The last time he predicted a move like this, the night before, the Texans to move up to number 3 for a combination of Stroud and Will Anderson back-to-back. And Norris said he went to sleep last night thinking it's absolutely happening. I'm in the same boat. And I also pointed this out, or tried to anyway, earlier on in the show. Like, he had that in his, why did he have that in his mock draft at 5 o'clock last night, the night before? Like, he's not making it up. And does that coincide with Jay Glazer saying, I got something here?
Well, why can't you take the handcuffs off the reporter? He's got the information. Let him come out and just say, hey, tune in. There's going to be a trade in the top 10. Guaranteed.
Yeah.
You know, I just don't know what we've gone a 180 the other direction. But yeah, I'm with you on that. Strong.
Maybe they don't want the drama ruined tonight.
Ruined. Yep. Ruined.
Yes.
That was a great episode of Family Guy. We got a goaltender change, my friend. Buffalo. I had PTSD watching that the other night. Guy gives up a goal from the center red line, and it was a backhand.
Yep.
I've never seen that before. Not a backhand from the red line. Happened to me senior year of high school against Moorhead. Playoff game. But this is...
I'll tell you this. They need a game in Boston like blood.
I know.
I know that's Captain Obvious checking in, but it has not gone well for them so far in the series.
It should be 2-0 Boston. I think Boston wins the series. See if the goaltending change helps Buffalo. Under 6.5 seems like a good bet as well. Can Buffalo find their offense? And outside of that final 7 minutes of game one, they haven't done much, and certainly at least scoring and the opportunities and the chances. I would be concerned also with the good reports from NHL people that Boston is playing borderline dirty, knowing that, okay, so they call it. We don't respect their power play.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
What do you make of the updated series price?
I agree. But you stay too much.
I'm looking right now.
I think
FanDuel.
Buffalo's too high.
Buffalo's at $1.52.
I saw 165.
Okay, Bruins are plus 126 right now at FanDuel.
Based on what I've seen, Boston will win the series.
And now they have home ice.
I know.
Yeah, I don't
It's
know
a lot
about
of respect for Buffalo. Again, it's like Pittsburgh. It's a great story, but how good are they now that it's playoff time in different hockey, right? You know, I'm also surprised Tampa Bay's favored Game 3 in Montreal.
Me too.
And Montreal has looked like the better team for a lot of that series. You know, Ottawa's season on the line, only $1.22. I would say under 6 and under 6.5 here. Again, the alt's under 6.5 minus 150. I can't see 7 goals being scored.
Don't you kind of like Ottawa to win the game?
No, I don't.
You don't?
No. Now, I know Carolina has their issues on the road in the playoffs, but they smother you. They don't give up much. So coming off the double overtime thriller, you might be right. I hope you're right. I'm sick of Carolina. I'd love to see Ottawa do this. Certainly, they have to regret Game 1 and the 2 softies that Allmark gave up. But I'm rooting for Allmark and his story with his mental health battles and rooting for Ottawa to get it done and showing all the fans out there. Not a lot of them, but it looks like they're at like a truck stop watching the game outside with the 2 road games.
Let me rephrase. I was hoping to bet Ottawa in this game tonight, but I don't want to lay this number. Anything at around even money would have been an auto play for me. I was hoping Carolina would have somehow been like favored in the game.
How about jumping in if they score the first goal?
If who scores the first goal?
Ottawa. Play with the lead and maybe do something to win in regulation.
Nah.
Be that. You won't do it. Okay.
Paul, I'm telling you, these bets to win in regulation, the puck line, like last night, alt numbers with the Dodgers, I am like 10% in my life. It never goes well. And now look at the Dodgers today. Slamming Logan Webb right up against the locker.
Mm-hmm.
Shoving his head right in it, saying, we didn't score last night, so here comes a barrage today.
I got you.
Yep.
What do you want to do with Colorado? Jonathan Davis going to the game? You can read his article, vsin.com. Can they slow down Makar and McKinnon 3 games in a row? 2-1, 2-1. Under 6, under 6.5, under 6 minus 140. The Kings, 3rd fewest goals scored at home. And the one thing, though, is Colorado, the one negative, 27th on the power play. Only 1 power play goal in their last 11. But can the Kings get enough opportunities? There are only 2 goals in the series have occurred on the power play.
Well, what about our guy between the pipes?
I love him.
We got him at 150 to 1 to win the Conn Smythe.
Yeah.
What is he down to, like 25 to 1 now?
I wish he had one of the shutouts, but he's got the penalty shot certainly helps saving that, and he's been great. But to me, just stay out of the box. But that's also on the officials. As much as we bash the NBA, these guys are doing a terrible job. I mean, every time you put on a game, someone's on the power play.
It's like
this is not playoff hockey.
I'm just going to say that. It's like the refs are not allowing these players to actually go out there and play playoff hockey.
No. The Philadelphia game was out of control last night, too. Every 30 seconds, someone takes a penalty, and they're back on the power play. But if that's going to be the case, you got to look at your special teams rankings, and that could decide a series. So I think I think it's low scoring tonight.
We got to revisit Pizzeria next Tuesday because I got a funny feeling that we're going to see some pretty big tickets on teams like Boston and or Philadelphia to come out of the East or to win the Cup.
Send them in.
Yeah.
Montreal, too.
Because I know this because our buddy Chris Massero has both.
No, you got the Buffalo angle, too. You can have Buffalo tickets, like Doug Kazarian talked about. I think he grabbed 7-1 to win the division in December or January. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's how I'm at with the hockey.
All right, so let me pay this off then. Unders so far in the NBA playoffs are 13-3. Yeah. Unders are 13-3. Hello, playoff basketball. And you had a game last night. How many games this year did we have a 98-83 final in that range?
How about that?
This is not 1998 basketball anymore that we're talking about. And that game was. So when you bet the team after they lost the previous game, 8-4 ATS so far in the playoffs through 12 games. That's 58% since 2021. I kind of look at the Knicks tonight because I'm not the biggest Mike Brown fan of all time. I would actually love the Knicks if Thibodeau was the coach in this spot, based on how the series has played out so far. Yeah. But Brunson's going to put together a full game, and Towns is going to have to. I don't know if he has it in him, but he, like the person inside, but he has to dominate at one of these points. It's a total matchup advantage for him.
I don't know what I get out of Atlanta's bench. Can Kuminga do that again? But also, I think you could take the hungry, pissed-off team after they choked and gave a game away, that they're going to be in a foul mood. Also, I expect a lot of Knicks fans tonight as well. Atlanta sports fans aren't that hardcore. Mm-hmm. But 14-1 run at home, to end the season. The one loss was against the Knicks. But it's big on Brunson. You're right about the adjustments because it was fried chicken when they put McCollum. He just cooked them. Took him to town, burnt toast. Got it whatever he wanted. So they have to make that adjustment. Brunson on McCollum. But as I said earlier, though, you got to be loving life if you're Atlanta that you don't get much from Alexander Walker or Daniels and you're tied in the series and already got the split.
Mm-hmm.
So what if Alexander Walker goes off, who's probably going to win most improved tomorrow? And what if, and I do like Daniels prop over. I know Dustin put it up there. Bill 80 had it in the email. It did lose last game, but it's won every single other game against the Knicks. Daniels over rebounds and assists tonight.
Yeah, let me point out a couple of news items for beyond tonight. Wembanyama with that concussion is going to travel with the Spurs for Game 3 on Friday. The decision of his status has not been made yet. And another one, Udoka now today asked about looking ahead to Game 3. Oh yeah, here you go. Reed Shepherd's going to see increased minutes on Friday night. What a dope this guy is. Incapable of reading the room.
Yeah.
And the second that they lose to the Lakers in this series, if they do, he's got to get whacked. You can't put up with this. One of the biggest underachieving teams in the entire NBA this year. Unacceptable what's going on in Houston.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to tell you, if Wembanyama doesn't play, now a couple of odds makers that I talked to, I got to go back to this. Justin here at Circa made the Spurs at least 6. And I didn't talk to him, but I saw this tweet. The man in charge of BetOnline would have made the Spurs 7.5 with a healthy Wemby.
Wow.
7.5.
Well,
I don't. Do they win the game without him?
Yeah, I'm up 14 with 8 minutes left. Game 2 was a joke. Can't do that. Come on, guys. Joker's $1.10 to have a triple-double tonight. I think he bounces back. But I want to see if Minnesota backs off him, though, and dares him to shoot from 3.
Well, also, is Gordon healthy or not?
Gordon's been downgraded to questionable. That's alarming. That is nuts. It's Game 3 of the playoffs only.
Where does this number go if Gordon is ruled out before tip time? Can Denver really be favored then?
No way.
I'm not going to say that Gordon's worth like 5 points, but they're a 2-point favorite right now.
During the McDaniels tirade, when he said, what worked, how do you have success against the team? You just attack all their defenders. No one on their team defends. Gordon's the one guy who defends. But as bad as they are defensively, and they're 21st in the league in defense, you take him off, it's a nightmare.
I would agree.
It's a disaster.
Yep.
So
I would also
I would look at the over if no Gordon.
Yeah, I lean Raptors. I know you don't, but I lean Raptors.
No. In
the game, you're going to get you should get like the best effort of the entire year out of that team tonight.
I like Phoenix Saturday.
I'm in this. Okay.
That's ridiculous. I think the amount of points they're getting.
I concur,
especially with Williams out and the 0-2 angle. Sharps Invitational season-long NFL bankroll tournament. Think poker meets football. Start with 10,000 chips. Put them to work on spreads, totals, parlays, and even props. NFL Week 1 through the Super Bowl. Stack your chips, climb the leaderboard, compete for real money. 3 tiers, 3 champions, 3 prize pools worth playing for. Sign up today. JoinTheSharps.com. JoinTheSharps.com. Manage your bankroll and outsmart the field. 3 leagues, 3 champions, 3 prize pools. Check it out. Join now.
NFL Draft guest number 3 on the show today. Paul Charchian on the program. Who do the Vikings take at 18 if both Dylan Thieneman and Kenyon Sadiq are on the board?
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
NFL Draft now coming up in 2.5 hours. Guest number 3 today on the program to talk about it. Longtime friend of this show, joins us on a weekly basis throughout the NFL season. Fantasy Football Hall of Famer Paul Charchian is here on the Progressive guest line. What's up, Charch? How are you, buddy?
I am back in Minnesota for the Vikings official draft party at US Bank Stadium. We'll be on stage counting down the 17 picks leading up to the Vikings at number 18 and trying to track what's going on from a Minnesota perspective.
Wait, so you are literally the person on the stage announcing the picks before they're up?
Myself, Paul Allen, former Viking Ben Lieber, and former Viking Pete Burzich. It takes 4 people to track all of the variables for the Minnesota Vikings.
Wow.
And yeah, we've been doing this for 20 years as a group, basically. So yeah, long time friends, and we get to do this every year. It's highlight of the year, watching the Vikings make their selections, most of which don't
Hold the phone here. Hold the phone. When would you know the pick? What prior notice do you get?
Well, I'll know the pick when everybody else knows the pick. I mean, we don't get inside intel. I mean, we get the pick when it goes live for the world. Yeah.
Okay. How many people show up for this thing?
About 5,000 or 6,000. I mean, they don't. It's all the whole field. So they do the entire field. They got a stage at one end, and then the whole field is just fans.
Oh, damn.
And
okay.
Yeah, it's a big party for everybody who loves the draft and loves, just wants to be part of it, and they want to be, part of the draft experience. It's a blast, and Viking fans show for this.
Okay, so you're obviously very connected to the team. What do we need to know as an audience about the Vikings, maybe with their past drafts going into this one tonight?
Yeah, so the old general manager, Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, got fired in February. So now we are looking at a new first-time draft for an interim general manager, Rob Brzezinski. Brzezinski is very highly regarded. He's been a big part of the Vikings front office for 20-plus years. He had been running the cap and was very involved with the front office in a lot of different ways, but he's the interim general manager. The plan is to get the full-time general manager after the draft, of which Brzezinski will be a candidate for that. But what's important to know with an interim general manager, I don't think he's going to have the ownership's approval to make big swings. I don't think you're going to be trading away 2027 assets to try to improve this draft when the team's got to turn around and go hire a new general manager, and you don't want to be short-suited for the upcoming draft. So I think there's going to be just a little more caution here, and I don't think we're going to see big swings out of the interim general manager, Rob Brzezinski. And the other thing I think you need to know about the Vikings, they don't have the luxury of going best player available. They've got some gaping holes that they've got to fill. Right now, this team has basically got 5 starter spots that they don't have an answer for. And even though this is a team that finished the season on 5 straight wins, they don't have a starting center right now. They're missing 2 safeties, 1.5 safeties. They're missing a cornerback. This is a team and a defensive tackle. So there's a lot of things right now that the Vikings need help with. And I also believe that after 4 straight really, really bad drafts with Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, unfortunately, I think the Vikings are going to steer towards safe players and just try to get a reasonable return on investment. These big swings the Vikings have taken the last 4 years just haven't panned out at all, and the team's really bereft of young, talented players. I think they're going to play it safe in this draft.
So the second choice to go to Minnesota, Sadiq, 6-1. Why do you dislike that?
Yeah, I don't love it. Especially at that price point. There's a lot of late steam, by the way, in this town, connecting the Oregon tight end, Kenyon Sadiq, to the Vikings. But there's a lot of other landing spots for Sadiq, potentially. He could go as high as Kansas City at 9 as an heir to Travis Kelce. There could be Miami at 11, Baltimore at 14 as they try to move on from Mark Andrews, who I think 31 years old, and Isaiah Likely's gone. Carolina, right after the Vikings, they could hop up a spot or two to go get Kenyon Sadiq. So there's all that working against the Vikings. And then, as I mentioned before, they're missing safeties, cornerbacks, nose tackles, center. They got too many gaping holes when they've already got TJ Hawkinson and an elite blocking tight end and Josh Oliver. They've already committed a lot of money to that spot. I don't see it. I think Sadiq, it's very, very hot right now in this town that Sadiq could go to the Vikings, but I don't think it's going to go that way.
Mm-hmm. To me, that would feel like a luxury pick, and that would mean like the Vikings are knocking on the door to come out of the NFC. And they might have a really good year next year, but I don't think you can afford to take Sadiq 18th overall. So based on that, then who would you target overall?
All right. So, the whole world has been on Dylan Thieneman for the Vikings. After you get past basically like pick 3 in this draft, he's probably the most commonly mocked player to any one team is the Oregon safety to the Minnesota Vikings at 18. And it makes sense. Stylistically, he is so close to Harrison Smith, the Hall of Fame bound safety, win with the Vikings for a dozen years. And Smith has been fantastic, but he is expected to, he hasn't made it officially yet. He's expected to retire. If he does come back, this will certainly be his last year. And they've got to get a safety on this team. And Thieneman, just stylistically, again, so much like Harrison Smith, and especially the way that Thieneman plays at and near the line of scrimmage. At the hike, so oftentimes that it's a safety, He is sitting on a slot corner, and you don't know, is he going to blitz the quarterback? Is he there for run support? Is he going to pick up a tight end? Is Thieneman going to shadow a cornerback? Or is he just going to wheel backwards and go into deep safety? I mean, Thieneman has got all of these traits that Harrison Smith has used beautifully with Brian Flores' defense. So Thieneman is very common. But the problem with betting Thieneman is he's plus 200. I mean, that's just the value there is so low that even though he's the probable selection for Minnesota at 18, plus 200, there's so many variables in a draft, including several teams after the Vikings that need safety, and they could hop above the Vikings. That I don't love the value at plus 200 on Thieneman to Minnesota at 18.
Okay, well then follow it up with a guy that's maybe, if you want to look at a value shot, then based on what you were saying there, if Thieneman is going to go before that, or if somebody trades up, who would you look at?
Here's my dark horse, and it's plus 1,600. And I believe this player is absolutely in play for the Vikings at 18. Almost nobody is mocking him there, so this is very much a Paul take. But there is something behind this, I believe. And that is Ohio State defensive tackle Caden McDonald. Now, in the offseason, the Vikings released both of their starting interior tackles, Jonathan Allen and Javon Hargrave. Mitch, Pauly, get this. With those two guys gone, it leaves 1,300 vacated snaps at defensive tackle for Minnesota. 1,300. And that means the Vikings need to get to defensive tackle at some point. Why Caden McDonald? Because he is a superstar run defender, absolutely dominant for Ohio State last year. And the Vikings defensive coordinator, Brian Flores, he can manufacture pass push and blitz from anywhere on the field. He doesn't have to do it from his defensive tackle. They need big run-stuffing defensive tackle more than they need a nose tackle that can press the quarterback, because they can get pressure a lot of different places from Brian Flores. I think McDonald comes in, he can neutralize A-gap runners. Flores can do his usual chicanery. And at plus 1,600, he's a player the Vikings have to be evaluating at 18, and that's my favorite long shot to come in for Minnesota.
Okay, then give us, in like 2 minutes here, give us another long shot here in the first round, non-Vikings related.
Omar Cooper is, I think he's being underrated. I think he's one of the 2 or 3 best wide receivers in this draft. This is the wide receiver from Indiana. I think he could go as high as pick 13 to the Rams. That's plus 1,200. Now, think about Sean McVay, and I'm going to describe the traits for Omar Cooper. Highly physical, fearless in traffic, both before and after the catch, elite body control, maybe the best in this draft class, super high effort guy, never quits on a play, elite tackle breaker, turns short passes into big plays, position versatility, plays the XYZ. That's Omar Cooper. Think about that fit for Sean McVay. And here's the Rams sitting at 13. Puka Nacua is in rehab. He hasn't gotten his second contract yet. Devontae Adams is probably in his last season, and there is zero depth after those two guys. And the Rams are a really good team. This is a luxury pick for them at 13, and out of that trade with the Falcons, and they've already solved their cornerback problem. They can go with a luxury pick like Omar Cooper, as I think he could go as high as 13 here, plus 1,200.
Oh, damn. Okay, very good. Yeah, follow him on X, at Paul Charchian, friend of the show, hops on every week during the NFL season. And your Twitter bio says 2-time Hall of Famer. I only reference you as a fantasy
sports Hall of Fame and the Fantasy Sports Writers Hall of Fame. It's not like right. you don't get a gold jacket for those things.
Okay, I think you're maybe stretching the one real Hall of Fame bit into 2, but okay, I'll give you both. All right, have fun with the event tonight, buddy.
All right, thanks, guys. We'll talk to you later.
Thank you.
He could be Cooper's agent.
No kidding.
It's a hell of a rundown.
Up next, tonight's Major League Baseball card, short, features some really good, intriguing matchups. And the Atlanta Braves have done something that no other team in the history of the sport accomplished through 25 games. I'll tell you what that is next.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
By the way, Pauly, how are you taking in the draft tonight? I would recommend for those of you, look, I mean, if you're on the show right now, you like to have action, more than likely, on a daily basis. You're involved in the draft tonight. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to watch and listen to Humans and Murray right here on VSiN.
Yep.
As the draft is going on, and they're going to be reacting to bets that they're going to win or lose, and they're going to talk about bets that are coming up that you can still make during this bad boy.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be a really fun show tonight.
I'll be checking out the prediction markets as well, seeing if there anything comes in late. And then we got a plethora of playoff games as well. And a great night in the association. Fly the W. Cubs win. Cubs win. They win 8-7. And isn't that something? That's 9 in a row, and the Phillies have lost 9 in a row. Cubs won.
I will point this out, and I had it in my notes today, but that game started way before the show started anyway. The Cubs had the second best WRC plus against lefties going into today.
Yeah.
And Sanchez just did not. And Sanchez is having a really good year. And boy, oh boy, did they get to him. So file that away whenever the Cubs take on a lefty. Dodgers
trying to avoid the sweep. How about what a dream series this has been for unders. 3-1 Giants. Yamamoto had nothing in the first. That's all he gave up. 3-0 Giants. Ohtani is second in ERA now behind Soriano. 3-0 Dodgers, bottom of the ninth. Glass now a one-hitter through 8.
They still in, huh?
If they hang on, that means they've won his last 15 appearances. 12 of them starts.
Wow. Okay.
It's filthy.
By the way, I took a little Ohtani last night, 16-1 to win the NL Cy Young.
Sure.
Now, he's batting .250 on the year. Is there a world in which Shohei Ohtani could win the Cy Young and not the MVP?
No.
If he has such a down year batting?
Oh, well, what's a down?
I don't even know. I thought about that on the way, and I'm
like, what's a bad year?
Like, if a book offered that, like, what would you take on it?
Do they offer both?
No, they don't. But
they should offer both.
They should, yeah. But I want just for him to win the Cy Young and not the MVP. I wonder what that number would be.
Oh, God.
So I took a little 16-1 because, again, like Sanchez got blown up today. You need these bad starts. Some other guys are. And he's like the third guy on the board now. And so I added him a little bit with and the Mason Miller from earlier in the year. And just like...
I would sit him. I would not let him hit when he pitches.
Agreed.
He is 1 for 10 now at the dish.
Yeah.
When he pitches. So they're trying to work something out there.
Just like with the bets that I have on Jose Soriano in the American League, you need these other guys to keep, like Skubal had it today through 6. He was awesome. And then guess what? One bad inning, and his ERA went from like 1.8 something on the year to 2.7 plus now. And he gave up. It wasn't even a quality start for him today. Never got the win. Brewers got to him in the 7th, and he was credited for 4 earned runs overall. So that's, although... I heard a little bit of money moves on the way in today with Jonathan Bontoblin. I think he's right. The last couple of starts have not been electric for Soriano, and he's not gotten out of the 6th inning in either one of them.
Well, you asked me yesterday just how bad is the NL East. Braves win again. Phillies loses of 9 in a row. Mets finally win a game, but lose Lindor. They're 6 up already in the division.
I know.
And it's ahead of Miami. So, I mean, the standings are flipped here. The Mets are awful, and the Phillies have a worse record than the Mets.
Oh, yeah.
Think about that.
Yes.
And the Mets had the 12-game losing streak.
They were getting a pass because of that 12-game losing streak by the Mets. And because the Philly streak wasn't double digits, just nobody really talked about it. So here you go, Pauly. And this does not include the win today by the Atlanta Braves. But what a tweet last night from Opta Stats. In Major League Baseball history, only one team has had the following numbers over the first 25 games of a season. Plus 50 or better run differential, 30-plus home runs, 200-plus pitching strikeouts, 0 blown saves. The one team to do that.
No blown saves?
Yes. That might be the most unbelievable stat of the whole thing.
Yeah.
The 2026 Atlanta Braves, your first team in the history of the sport to do that. Wow, that is something else.
It is.
And now they won today, and I do have a bet on them for most wins in the month of April.
What's the update?
Well, hold on, because I need to get the Padres score. And that was 8-4 Rockies, top of the 8th, but the Padres were cooking.
8-5, bottom 8.
Okay, so they got it there with 1 run?
Yeah.
So the current update on this, as I click on, they both have 15 right now. But here come the Chicago Cubs with 14 overall. Mm-hmm. We'll do this again coming up next week. And I need to just encourage people. Plenty of books offer this now. It's going to be called the most wins in the month of May. It's my favorite way to bet baseball overall. And it usually comes down to the last day with at least 2 different teams having a chance. Maybe it's 3 or 4 teams. So the Braves right now have 15, Padres 15 going into today. Then Cubs 14, Reds 13, and then Pirates 12. They play tonight. Dodgers looking like 13. And that's the list that we're going to have. The Braves do play one more game than the Padres moving forward.
Okay, good. Like the Yankees again tonight?
I do.
They've won 5 in a row. The pitching's been great. They've shut down Boston. Red Sox continue to be a big disappointment at 9-15. Not a fan of Bayo. And Schlittler goes again. And again, the starting pitching's been phenomenal going back for the Yankees. And they've total ownage. They've had Boston's number, especially this year, too.
Remember what Schlittler did to this team in the playoffs last year.
That's right, yeah.
Double-digit strikeouts, absolute domination. So far on the year, there's no let-up. He's pitched almost 28 innings. ERA is sub-2. The FIP is sub-1. Almost 12 Ks per 9. Has not allowed a home run, and the average fastball velocity is 98 miles an hour. Ben Rice, last 7 games, or 7 days, I should say, 5 for 19, as is Aaron Judge. Rice has 4 home runs. Judge has 2. Rice has scored 6 runs in that stretch and 5 RBIs. Judge also has 2 stolen bases, a double, and 6 runs scored. So they have been hot, and this Red Sox lineup is an absolute joke.
Yes.
What a disappointing team this is.
No doubt.
So, yeah, I like the Yankees in this game tonight.
Okay.
And the other one would be Pirates and the Rangers. This is Bubba Chandler going against Jacob deGrom. Chandler on the year, his average fastball is 99 miles an hour. My God. The ERA is 3.15, but the FIP is 4.69. He's walking almost 6 batters per 9. You need to cut that in half at a minimum. So if he's going to be putting guys on like that, more runs are going to come across. And DeGrom has been DeGrom. 2.29 ERA. The FIP slightly higher than that at 3.5. 11.5 Ks per 9. And he's been a little bit unlucky with the strand rate at 95%, or a little lucky, I should say. He's still chucking it at 97 miles an hour. And Josh Young has been hot. Last 7 days, 11-24. That's a 458 clip with 3 home runs, 5 doubles, and 8 RBIs. And O'Neill Cruz went deep last night. His last week, 2 home runs overall, 3 stolen bases, a couple of doubles. Only 6-27 overall at the plate, though.
Okay. Nice. At DraftKings, Reese is now minus 230 to go number 2.
Okay.
Okay, you got on board? They've been playing games with this for 10 days.
Well, no, I still needed to.
Wow.
I'm on Bailey, so I hope this team is wrong.
Love plus 150 to go 4th, plus 120 to go 3rd.
He's plus 120 now to go 3rd, huh? Boy, I think that'd be a huge mistake by Arizona.
Francis is 15-1 now. Tyson is now favored to go 5.
Is he really?
Yep. I think I could see the Giants doing that. Tyson 5, Francis 10. I thought they'd flip it. Francis 5, Tyson 10.
Uh-huh.
Tyson probably won't be there, though, at 10.
Uh-huh.
But Tyson now plus 250 to go 5th. Styles up to 3-1 now. Francis is now 12-1. And I don't think Monken's going to get his way. I think the Brownies have got to go O-line at 6. And there we go. Fano now plus 275. That was like 6-1 last week. He's the favorite.
The short shot, okay.
Yep.
Let me look at some other spots. Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe the Reese thing turns into a $10 favorite by the time the show's done. Maybe. Does it flip one more time is my question. Because this thing has been ping-ponging back and forth now for a good week.
Yeah. But Tyson's also the favorite to go 10. Not bad.
So either way, the Giants are in love with the kid.
Francis shouldn't be plus 650, though. They love him. And if Arizona doesn't take him and they go Love, who knows? They could go Reese or Bailey there, too.
I'm not going to roll out the Chiefs to take him. I mean, come on. If Andy Reid and the Chiefs go offensive line tonight, that should shock nobody.
Weren't they higher on the Penn State kid, though?
Well, that would be something for a guard to go that high.
Yeah, they're the same. Same price, at least at DraftKings. We're taking over the world's largest sports book, and you're invited. Join us June 13th from 1 to 5. Sweat bets. Talk about your favorite moments and more. NBA Finals, World Cup action, MLB action as well. I'm sure there's a UFC card. $250 gets you an open bar and all you can eat. An afternoon with us. Don't miss out. vsin.com/beyond the booth. vsin.com/beyond the booth. World Cup NBA Finals, June 13th at Circa, 1 to 5. All you can eat, all you can drink.
We will dive into the playoffs that we have coming up tonight, and I'll tell you about one player that the Opta AI projections at vsin.com are super high on tonight. They are super high on him anyway. That's next year. And Follow the Money. It's VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.